One of the first things that we need to understand about voice is that your voice is always with you, no matter what you write. Whether you're writing poetry, whether you're writing fiction, creative nonfiction, sci fi, horror, whatever. We can't just let the genre speak for itself, okay? Because if we just let genres write themselves, we start going into tropes. We start getting into cliches. Our voice is what helps battle these tropes, battle these cliches. It's the old allegory that if I had one recipe, okay, one cake recipe, and if I gave that same cake recipe to all of you, I expect 20 different cakes. I do. Because we all have different experiences. We all have different tastes where one of you may say, I don't like sweet cakes, or I'm not a big fan on frosting, or I prefer a lot of frosting, or I prefer vanilla over chocolate. So we cannot sit here and say that every single person in this room has the exact same tone, the exact same attitude, the exact same viewpoint on life. We cannot sit here and say that that's literally statistically impossible. So I'm going to say right now that voice is a very hard thing to define. It's just one of those things that you just have to keep living life and you have to keep writing and eventually you'll figure out your voice. I can give you very basic ideas of where voice comes from, how to harness your voice. But all I can really say is if you want to develop your voice as a writer, first things first, be unapologetic. Okay? Speak your mind. Don't try to censor yourself. Okay? Just let it go wild. Second thing, you need to listen to yourself as much as possible. Listen to the way you talk. Listen to the way you write. Constantly reread what you write and then say, what are my strong suits? What are things that I have weaknesses on? Now, you don't necessarily need to improve upon your weaknesses. You can use that to your advantage by all means. But if you want to work on your weaknesses, go ahead. But you should really be focusing on your strengths. Okay? For some writers, they are very perfect with dialogue. They can make any dialogue on the page feel so real and just read so naturally. But some writers really suck at it. And you know what? They admit to it. So what do they do instead? They don't write 5-page long dialogue scenes. They don't, because they know they're not good at dialogue. They rely more on prose, more on visuals, more on imagery. Your voice really is your personality, but it's also your tone. For some of us, we deal with grief through humor. Okay, when something absolutely tragic happens, some of us crack a joke. That's why it's really difficult to define this because there's so many different personalities out there in the world. There's 7 billion people in this world and all of them have a different personality. There's so many different tones in which you can go about something. Like a tragic event. For some people, when a tragic event happens, they grieve and they grieve for a very long time and they poetically put it in their writing as a kind of catharsis. Other people make jokes about it. Who's right and who's wrong? I can't tell you. It's just the way people deal with things. Don't be afraid also to read your favorite authors or read your favorite stories or watch your favorite movies or whatever and say, yes, I love that style. I love what they do there. I want to emulate that. That is another part of this. Take inspiration from everything.